Welcome back to We Love This Book. Today I'm going to talk through some of the books that are coming out in April that I am excited to read and have read that I think are really good. First of all, I want to mention two thrillers. Now, I'm not a big thriller reader, but these are two books that people keep telling me are brilliant. The first one, this is obviously a proof, so the cover's completely different, but this is Disclaimer by Renee Knight. And the concept of this one is that a woman picks up a book on her bedside table. She doesn't really remember how it got there. She starts reading and it's about her, and it's about this sort of deep, dark secret that no one knows about. And the other one is The Good Girl by Fiona Neill, which I know even less about, but it's about like sort of someone sharing some sort of illicit photos or videos online and how that sort of destroys someone's life. And I just wanted to talk about it just purely because I've heard so many people who know about thrillers saying that this is a good one. Okay, this is a book that I haven't yet read, but I can't wait to read. It's called Preparation for the Next Life and it's by Atticus Lish, which is a brilliant name. So I wasn't really aware of this book until the author Benjamin Wood recommended it to me. It's got a review from the New York Times on the front that says the finest and most unsentimental love story of the new decade, which sounds brilliant, and Ned Bowman's given it a quote as well, and I'm a big fan of him, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Right, and then one more book that, well, I have read bits of this but I haven't finished it, and that is Carrie Fletcher's All I Know Now. We obviously interviewed Carrie a couple of weeks ago about this, and I've started reading it and I completely love what I've read so far. It's really just witty and clever and the sort of book that I wish I had had when I was a teenager. I have got 5 books that are coming out in April that I have read and that I really, really liked. Now, the first one I don't actually have a physical copy with me. I've read it and I can't find it, and that is Other Girl by Nicole Burstein, and this is a YA book, and the kind of concept of it is the best friend of the superhero. So there's 2 female friends and one of them discovers that she's a superhero, but the focus of the story is actually on the best friend, and I just thought it was a really refreshing take on the story. For me, it's a tiny bit slow to get started, but once it hit its stride I just thought it was brilliantly paced, and the finale is really creative and sort of fun twist on all the superhero kind of normal tropes. This is The Good Son by Paul McVeigh. It's about a boy called Mickey who lives in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, and it's set in the summer holidays in between him leaving primary school and him starting secondary school. He's sort of wise beyond his years. He doesn't fit in at all in this very kind of brutal society. He likes acting and dancing and he's creative. You will completely fall in love with Mickey. Next is The Story of My Teeth by Valeria Luiselli, which I think is how you pronounce it. This is a really quirky, funny book about an auctioneer called Gustavo Sanchez. And then what made me really love this book even more was when I finished reading it. It's very short, it's very quirky and charming and funny. But then in the afterward, the author explains about how it came about, and it actually started because she was commissioned to write something to go with an exhibition that's happening just outside of Mexico City, and then it ended up being a collaboration with some of the women who worked in a factory near there. And it's worth reading for the story behind it as well, and you can find out more about in the afterward. Right, so this is Gorski by Vesna Goldsworthy, which I really like because it's such an kind of interesting idea that I thought was on the whole executed really, really well. It's a modern retelling of The Great Gatsby. It's about the wealthy Russian people in London, and the main character, who is kind of like the Nick, he works in a bookshop in London, and he's given a commission by Gorski, who's Gatsby, to kit out his library in this beautiful new house, which he is doing because he's trying to kind of win back the affections of the woman that he's in love with. It's really, really good fun for fans of The Great Gatsby. I did find it a little bit on the nose at times. So Natalia, who's the kind of the main woman, her daughter is called Daisy, and there was a few sort of, it could have been slightly subtler. There's also lots there for book lovers because of the kind of central idea that he's being commissioned to build this library, so there's lots about literature and libraries in there. And the last book for this month is Jacob's Colours. Again, this is a proof, although it's a particularly lovely proof. So Jacob's Colours by Lindsay Horden, and this is a debut. This is probably my favourite for all of the books I've read that come out in April. It's set during World War II, and I'm not normally a big fan of books set during the war, and it really takes something quite special to stand out from all of the books that are set in that time period, but this completely does stand out. It's about 3 generations of one family, and the last generation is the titular Jakob, and he's fleeing from the kind of roundup of the gypsies that's taking place. It's quite upsetting at times. Obviously it's a particularly cruel part of history and some horrible things happen, and Horden doesn't at all shy away from how horrible and awful that was. But one of the things I really loved about it was how she manages to make that the overall kind of message and feel of the book is one of hope and of beauty, and it's all about finding colour in the kind of bleakest of times. She also really weaves the idea of colour through it in a really clever way. It's both sort of metaphorical in the idea of looking for colour in the darkness, but then also Jacob's family, they make a living by making paint. So there's also kind of that literal use of colour, and there's some really interesting stuff about how they go to different places to find the colours. And Lindsay's actually been travelling around the world with her 2 sons, finding the 7 colours of the rainbow. So they've been going to like Chile and India. I believe she's got a blog about that, which we'll link so you can go and find out more about it. Those are the books that I'm looking forward to in April. As I said, Jacob's Colours is probably my favourite, but it's been a really good month. I'd really love to hear if you've read any of these ones that I haven't read yet, and if you think I need to get more into thrillers, and if you've read any of these too. So let us know what you've been reading in the comments below, or get in touch on We Love This Book.